Hello. Hopefully everything is working. Um, yeah, it looks like it. Hey everybody, welcome to ArtStream with Mary. I am Mary Langwish, and I'm excited to be painting here in front of you today with sort of an idea that I've had in my head, but haven't really fully planned out. So it'll kind of morph as it goes, which I don't know if that's a good idea on a live stream, but people make like new recipes for people all the time, right? For guests and stuff. So it's kind of feels like that, I guess. Should be good, but just warning you. No. Thanks for joining. Please ask questions along the way. I'll be sure to check periodically and answer those or comments or whatever. But yeah, let's get started. So my plan is I've been doing these abstracted, they're not completely abstract, flower type um, paintings with mostly like neon backgrounds, and then kind of working with negative space and building up from there. And the difference with today is I'm actually gonna try to do a more of a primary color as the base. So I'm gonna put bright red down first and then kind of work up from there. So it's a little different. I'm not really using a neon color like I have been. So in my head, it seems like it's gonna work, but we'll see. So the very first thing I want to do is get out some red. I have this red, cadmium red. I'm just using acrylics today. And I'm gonna try this red on the canvas first to see if I like it as is. If not, my plan was to add a little bit of orange to it just to warm it up, because I want this layer to be really bright. And honestly, I'm just gonna leave it the way it is. So then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cover the whole thing, just adding a little bit of water. This feels very tacky. There we go. Cover it with this red all over. Acrylic can be a little tacky, and so I have to make sure that it flows enough across and it dries really fast, especially here in Colorado. So you have to kind of work a little swifter, which I've worked with oil before, so it's not like crazy different. I mean, it's different. Acrylic are different. I don't know what I was saying. It's hard to paint and talk at the same time, so if I forget what I'm saying, that's very natural. The goal with doing this layer, though, is making sure that I really get into all the grooves of the canvas, because that's going to be really important for making sure it doesn't look like unfinished. Okay, that is red. Still working fast so that it can dry. I might flip this over so that I can, again, work from the top down, because it's a little easier for me. canvas is kind of, or easel's kind of wobbly. It's okay. It's got character. This is like the exact red I was thinking in my head just because it's pretty bright. It's a warm red. It's got orange or yellow or something in it to keep it pretty vibrant. All right, and then I'm just gonna kind of smear it out. Most of the technique that I've used for this type of style isn't smooth, but it's that first layer that I like to be, for the most part, as smooth as I can get it, just so that it doesn't like distract if you have like lighter patches or darker patches or something like that. So I want to make sure that it's got a nice layer on there. I'm not, it's not even Thanksgiving yet, but I am like really excited about the holidays, but I'm one of those people that will not play Christmas music until after Thanksgiving. But I have been like kind of itching for like Christmas decorations and lights. I won't do it. I will not put them up. But I'm going to be super excited when Thanksgiving's over so that we can do that. So with that said, this painting is kind of going to be a little Christmassy probably in colors because that's how I'm feeling. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that can feel the same way probably and agree with me that they're ready for the holidays. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Doesn't have to be perfect, just needs to be covered. Okay, now I have my handy dandy blow dryer with me today, and that's just to speed up the process. Acrylic dries fast, but I want to speed up the process even more so that you're not waiting around for me. And actually it'll come in handy for some other cool stuff I'll show you in a minute. But let's just get this at least mostly dry so that we can work with the next layer. Okay, actually that feels pretty good. Let me just let it cool off just a little bit. Now I'm gonna prep my next color. And with this style, I work in layers, building up the negative space, forming the positive object, which will be kind of floral looking things. And so my thought is that with other paintings like this that I've done, if the background's like warm like this, I tend to do a cooler next layer. But I'm gonna change that up a little bit. Again, risky, but I have this very distinct idea in my head, picture in my head of what I want. And so I basically gonna make this red deeper, but like a grade red. So you on the red, it might not look super, super red, but that's kind of the idea. So let's see how this goes here. If I can make what I'm thinking in my head. It might be on the purple, maybe a little purple would be good. Lovely palette colors here. It's really hard for you to tell what is what and what's wet, what's dry. But I'm just gonna start mixing a little bit of these reds together and then a touch of black, maybe a touch of purple. Is that purple? Yeah. And then I'm gonna go in with white. So right now it looks like this, kind of dark, almost brownish color. And then I'm gonna add in white to brighten it up a little bit so that it's more gray, because I want it in value to be lighter than the red, I think. No, it's gonna be darker than the red, but it still needs to be like not as vibrant, which it already isn't, so we're good on that front. Ooh, that's actually not terrible. It's more purple than I was thinking, so let's see if I can warm it up a little bit more. Actually, that could probably work. Okay, if that's the color, I'm gonna try it on here, but I need to kind of know where I'm putting it before I just like put it up there. So I want to think about my composition a little bit and place. I kind of tend to do the round flowers. They kind of remind me of Dr. Seuss fluffy, like from Horton Here's a Who kind of flower. But I really like the shape and it works really well with this composition. So basically, as I'm going around, I have to avoid the ones that are going to be bright red because obviously I have red on the canvas already. And so I'm going to put one right here. I think I like that color. Yeah. It's just a little on the purple side, but it's still, and so it looks a little cooler against the red, but it's still, in terms of other colors, it's still quite warm. So I think I like that. Now, I want to make sure I place these in places that I'm going to be happy with here. So we're going to put one up here. Maybe that one transitions. And sometimes I put them in and then decide later if I actually like them and take them out if I don't. There's some flexibility there. And then maybe there's another top of one there with the rest of the stem of the other one. This can be filled in. And I want my edges, I've learned as I've done this more and more, to be softer and not quite so harsh because I want this to have a painterly style. So I have to make sure that I'm not like too planned out because then it looks fakey. So I'm liking that so far. It's a little glare from the lights. I know that helps a little bit. And then this has its own stem, whereas that one in the back has another stem. to kind of plan that stuff out. Now I don't need to do quite so many of the bright red because I'm going to do ones on the next layer. And so I need to just figure out where I want to place the other ones here so I don't go too crazy on that side. But maybe I want one here. Definitely one like right here. So you get kind of this draw your eye into the center composition. Okay. I might even put, well, six. Got an even number. It's not good. Okay, so I might stick one half on, half off, kind of an idea with the stem coming in. Kind of like that. Again, I got to remind myself painterly, because I can easily get into the make it look real. And I don't want this to look like that. So it's definitely a little bit more outside my comfort zone to push myself to do this type of work. Um, but it's worth it. So let's see if there's any other areas I'm liking. I want to avoid the center as much as possible. The four over here are bothering me a little bit, so I might stick one little guy in here. Oops. Drippy, drippy. Actually, that reminds me, once I get this on here, I think I should have left a little opening. I might force one in there for being a stem. Let's see if I can place one more. Just one more. Yeah, look at that. Fix anything. So if it's here, make sure it's not kissing the edge too much, but I think that's gonna be perfect now. I have 9, yay, odd number, okay. So I think I'm happy with that. I'm gonna fill in, especially up here, really solid with that color. But painterly again, like I can leave some of the red showing through. I want it to be kind of rough. Because that really adds to this style if I can keep that attribute throughout the whole piece. Down in here though, however, I want to keep a little more red because it'll balance it out just a touch if I can hint at the red itself. Adjusting the light just a little bit so you can kind of see that composition a little clearer. I don't know if that's too much. There's a little glare right here, so sorry about that. And then just bring this down. Define a few spots because like this looks weird right there, so I need to either put a space all the way through, which I think I will, or let it be. All right, I'm going to hint at some down in here, but then my next step is I want to do some drippies. So what that's gonna look like or mean is that I need to, with this color and a lot more water, try to get some drippage. Now it's tricky because you can drip water pretty easily, but you want it to have the paint with it. So this might take a little bit of time to get the right consistency of water to paint ratio. I mean, I should say ratio, um, and consistency for it to flow across better. And some of these, I do this in each layer, but some of them um, get covered up later, and that's okay. But it just adds kind of a little bit of interest when you look up close and notice there's like some dripping parts. So I'm gonna come up here and do some across the top. It's a little bit thicker than I wanted. Yes, there we go. Wonder if this red is just ooh, a little bit thicker or something, so it's not flowing as much. When I did it with sort of a turquoise color, there, um, it flowed really nicely and dripped really nicely. So it might just be and I don't want these to be super thick because I do have to dry this before I do my next layer. But I have a few things to do between that I can focus on. I have my handy dandy blow dryer to refer back to here. Oops, don't want to mess up my flowers here. That red is really pretty. Okay, I think I'm happy with that. So now, while that's kind of drying on its own, before I do some blow drying, I'm going to work with my stems and greens because I want to at least get some of that in there before I do my next layer. So I'm gonna put this palette aside just for now because I'll get back to it. And then we're gonna get some green. Now I'm gonna go for even though I said I'm kind of in a Christmassy mood, I am not going to use the green from the tube. Too fakey. Ugh, no. And actually I have another idea for a type of green I want to add in. But a little handy trick is to make a green or a red look darker or more natural. You can add the complement to it. So red and green are complementary colors on the color wheel. And so if I want this green to be more of a forest pine green, which is very Christmassy. Again, I don't know why I'm into the Christmas, but everyone is. So I hope you're enjoying it. And I'm going to mix this into here and see how that changes to like a deep green. That's what I want. We'll see how deep because I want it to make sure it looks green on the canvas. And the canvas, again, has a red background and color changes a lot when you put color on another color and next to another color. So I have to kind of play with it a little bit. But that's exactly the color I was thinking, just adding a little green. It's better to add red, I mean. It's better to add a complementary color than to add black because black kind of dulls things down too much and flattens it. And it's just not pretty where you can get so many interesting colors by mixing a complement together. So I might have fun with, I usually do kind of, big leaves, but I might try to think of smaller pine branch type stuff. And so I'm going to come in and I'm going to kind of do this type of thing. I'm not doing it everywhere, and I'll probably come in and add some more later, but I want to just get some texture in there first because it helps me with my next layer to kind of know where I put branches and things. I need to lift this up on here so I can see the whole canvas. Hopefully that's not too much glare for you. Adjust lights a little bit. I didn't realize how much glare I'd get once I started adding paint to the canvas, so hopefully that's bright enough still. But yeah, that's more the texture I was thinking when I was thinking of branches and greenery. As I get down to the bottom here, I want to avoid, not everywhere, but avoid some of the branches from the flowers coming down. And this green's not like going down as thick as I'd like, which means I either have to just do a few layers later. I'm afraid to add white right now, so I'm just gonna let it dry and we'll come back to that. But down in here, I want to kind of avoid some of these branches. Because that adds a lot of interest if I can avoid some of that. Okay, yeah, so see how transparent that is? I might add a touch of white. Actually, I've got white over here. This, mix it in. White is opaque, and so it's going to cover anything underneath it. But hopefully I can still keep my color. It's more sagey. Okay. Fix the green. A little bit of red and green together to try to bring that back up to the color I had. Okay, that's gonna probably be better. It's still on the lighter side, but I need it to cover what's underneath it. I can do more layers on top of it once I figure out where this is gonna go. Okay, so you can see I'm bringing down the stems all the way. It leaves some openings and kind of decide as we go how much I do on that. Then I'm gonna, there's that a little better. It's a little farther from me, but we can try that. For glare, I want to bring this down, and I want to make sure I have like other cool branchy things happening down in here, which some of it'll happen on the next layer, so I don't want to do too much of this. I'm just getting some interesting sort of, leafy stem-like things down in here. It's gonna just add enough. Okay, I might just stop there because I don't want to overdo it, even though I know there's some weird openings. It's good to actually leave some of that because I found out if you leave some of the solid red or undercolor in there, it's gonna really help the composition a little bit. I might even, oops, thought that was up there. Take this out a little bit in here because I want more red right there. Okay, so I'm gonna blow dry again to get this drier. Actually, before I do that, let me just, while I have the green here, do some drippage. And again, once I've dripped stuff, I can always go back and fix things. So it's, it's a messy technique, but that's kind of why I'm doing it. I like the uncertainty of where it's going, and you just sort of let it go. Let it go. Okay, that's good enough. I can add more later, and we're gonna blow dry this baby. Okay, so base layers are done, and this is where the magic happens because this doesn't look like much, let's be honest. It's very rough, it's very messy, but it's the next layer that for me really makes it, because I'm going to start doing the background, avoiding some other flowers that are made out of this color, going around the rest of this, and it just starts to bring so much depth to the picture itself. So my plan is I'm going to do sort of a cream color, like the painting behind here that you can see. This is the mother painting of all these styles I've done. It's kind of the one that I experimented with first and really loved where it was going. And so I kind of been using that as my reference guide for all of these paintings so far. So I'm going to do a cream background. Obviously it's not going to be super, it's going to be more of a grade cream, which includes white and yellow. I'm gonna go for this yellow. There's two different yellows here. More primary yellow. It actually says primary yellow, and this one's got a lot more orange in it. I kind of want, maybe I'm choosing the wrong. I'm gonna go with the primary yellow. And then, oops. We're gonna add in a little bit of the purple that I've got on my palette here already. Clean out my brush. I tend to, the reason I like this technique is it's quick. I should be able to, I think, ideally finish it with you here, or at least get close. Um, Sometimes I come back to another session and be like, oh, it definitely needs a little fixing. But for the most part, I get these done kind of in one sitting, which is perfect for a live stream. Oops. But I don't know where I was going with that thought, but it'll come back to me. Okay, so see how that's like a light yellow. You might call that cream, but I want to go for more like a off-white ivory type of color. Going with a complement again. I'm putting a little purple into yellow, and that is going to dull both colors down a little bit. Because if I were to put that straight cream on the canvas, it would look really bright. And honestly, this is going to look really bright. And so I need to bring this down so that it still can look cream next to the other colors, but it's not going to be like overpowering. So I'm going to put a little black in there. It's better. It's lost a little bright or saturation of the color. So I'm going to add in just a touch more yellow. Actually, I might go warm this time just to brighten that up a little bit. All right, I'm going to try it on here and see if it looks like what I'm imagining. It's close. It's slightly green on the canvas, and so I need to warm it up. So I might even put a touch of red in there just to off balance the green hue. Again, complements are magic. Okay, it's still greenish. That's better. Yeah, it's a little taupey, but I think that's okay. I think I like it. Okay, so let's just put it down. If not, I'll fix parts of it, but I think it's a good start for the color that it needs to be on this canvas. So a lot of paint here. This is where I have to be careful because I don't want to, this is where the layer needs to be pretty flowy. Not flowy, that's not the right word. Rough. I want it to be rough around the edges and stuff. But this is where I have to still plan out where my other ones are going to be. So I'm going to have one kind of coming up this way. Ooh, got some yellow in the corner of that. And these ones, I'm going to make these ones a little smaller because they're farther away. But basically, there's one there. I want the edges to be really soft though, so dry brushing over. Then I'm going to put one kind of right, bring it a little bit closer in, right on the edge here. Maybe another one right here. Maybe it's a little closer in, kind of like that. Okay, so you can start to see the depth of those other ones in the background come into life. I want more of like a stem over here. I gotta make sure I bring that stem down. That's the tricky part. I sometimes forget that and cover things up, but you know, that's okay. So there's one there. I'm gonna tuck another one. Too much paint. I'm gonna tuck another one back in here. Because I like when there's a little bit more depth happening in here. There might be a guy right there. I don't want too much contrast in the corners, and so I'm not gonna like finish it off. I might just put in a little bit in here to kind of keep it suggesting there's more layers in there. So you can see I kind of outline them first, and then I go in and like fill in the background because I want to make sure I actually put in the ones that I want inside there. I might put another one kind of right here. Again, kind of thinking about that stem going through there. And then I think I know this is more centered, but I'm gonna put one that's a little crooked, more crooked, right in here. Kind of like that. All right, let me fill this in and see how that looks because I definitely want this up in here filled in. So I kind of try to leave some of the background showing through, so kind of some dry brush happening. I don't know what I want to do with that corner. I might just fill that in because I think it's gonna be better. And then we're gonna bring a little bit, leave a little maroony background around that guy. And this guy. Okay, so you can start to see kind of the background, how that's coming through here. So I want to do the same up in here. It's tricky because you do have to think of composition a little bit and make sure you're not like overly filling in information. I have to make sure edges aren't very distinct, especially for these background flowers, because I want them to blend in a little bit to the background more so than like, so that these can still pop a lot. A lot. Okay, I'm liking that a lot. Okay. This one's a little bit like they're almost the same height, and that's bothering me. So I'm going to bring this one down. Makes it smaller, but it's going to be way more, it's just better for the composition. So you don't have two like directly across from each other, same height. Now I want to decide, this is where it gets a little tricky down in here, because I want to make sure that I leave space for possibly some tucked back in here or just maroon on the edges of stuff. So I'm going to do that. Maybe that's the inside. So this is what, as you hopefully you can tell, is what's really making it the what it needs to be. So it doesn't look fakey and plasticky. It needs to have really painterly, soft edges. The composition has to be planned out pretty well, otherwise it's gonna be really messy. So all right, this can be filled in here. I might kind of leave a little gap. And soften some edges. softness there and there. I hint at some others behind there. So yeah, bringing this light down in here is important. Making sure I don't have too much of the background showing through is a good thing to check on. So again, I want it to not be too painterly. It has to have a balance for what I'm going for anyway. Okay, let's see. This is coming down in here. Softness right in there. Softness along this edge is going to be important. I might kind of hint at one over in here, just really lightly. And then this down here will have just little subtle wisps of color to suggest that one right there. And I might just put a little bit of brightness to kind of bring your eye down into this spot. Now this is where in my other paintings I have trouble recreating this, but I come in, there's some of this color down in here, kind of underneath. I'm going to put a color for stems later, but basically there's some of that color down in the base. And so I just want to hint at that just a little bit so you don't lose some of that. Okay, I think I'm happy with that. Now the one thing I'll do before I do a little more dripping on this layer is I'm just going to warm up a few spots. You want a few little sparkles throughout the painting. And I tend to go lighter. So like, for example, hopefully you can see this. I'm gonna, like, this is all the same color besides some of the background showing through. I'm gonna come in and just put a little glisten of something brighter like that. Obviously I want it to be a little more blended in, so I'm gonna take that original color and just kind of blend the edges a little bit. But just doing that can bring your eye into the piece a little more. And I definitely want that. I just hint at it a few spots, kind of where the focal point is. Okay, I'm calling that layer good, besides some dripping, which we'll do next. And then we'll blow dry again. And then we're getting close to kind of just some final details. Some dripping. That color, for some reason, is dripping really nicely. Okay, I don't want to overdo it. Okay, I'm going to take my blow dryer and maybe force some of that down a little bit more. It's a little brighter than I want it to be in a few spots, so I'm going to dab this before it dries completely and just, oh, that's pretty dry. Just kind of, eliminate some of that so it's not quite so vibrant. And again, I'm going to do things on top, so it's not going to be a huge deal, but all right, back to just making sure this is dry. Okay, so honestly, this stuff here is mostly done. I just need to focus on this section, which is the hardest because it gets really messy and busy. So I need to figure out a way to balance that out. And at this point, I'm gonna also try to, oh man, this has paint on it. I'm gonna also try adding in another plant-like shape to add a little bit of interest. And I kind of want to make like a goldish color. The background's gonna, is more gray. And so I want there to be a little pop of something just kind of warm and welcoming, little sparkles of that throughout. So let me get that ready. But then I do, I think, well, no, I'll do this now and then I'm gonna fix up the green again and make sure I've got more of that down in the bottom. That's a lot darker down in here. Okay. I'm gonna use the same brush. Well, that's what I was gonna say earlier is I tend to use the same size brush. Not this one every time I paint or something, but something like this. It's flat, long handle. Because I don't know, I can do a lot of things with it if I use it correctly. Use different sides. I guess not correctly. I'm using it incorrectly. Using it in all different angles and corners of the brush and stuff to get the shapes that I want. So I'm gonna mixing this yellow and orange together. It's gonna be way too bright, but I want to just get a base, the local color basically figured out. And then I'm gonna add purple. Purple's again a complement of yellow. And yellow's in here. Now this is going to be interesting because that I don't think is the color I want. That could look nice. Maybe not to everybody, but it kind of looks nice to me. It's really orangey, but let's give it a try. So I don't even know what I want here. Let's see. Do I want to go for... Okay, I need a little white because it is transparent. That'll actually help with the color. It might make it more, not quite so orangey. Yeah, that'll help. Ooh, that's kind of pretty. A little texture. I basically want that to just kind of fall in a few spots here. I don't want to get too realistic, so I put a few branches or like sticky looking things and mostly just keep it to the little dots. Kind of want these to come all the way down. Yeah. And fill up this section a little bit more. Then I can bring the green around it because that's my whole point with this type of painting is like working with negative space and working around the subject. And so I think it was good for me to do this now because then I can actually make that happen. I do like the random little Loving this. I love it when it works out. I might ruin it later. No. Again, colors like this are a little hard because um, the background, they're transparent, and so the background is still showing through a little bit, even though I added white. So I'm just putting kind of a thicker blob on top. Painting it on like butter is what you got to do sometimes. Okay, I kind of like that. I like it. Um, so I'm gonna rinse that out. I think that's enough of that, and I'm gonna work with the green, which I still have, but I want to go a little deeper with it because when I added the white, it wasn't doing what I wanted it to do. So I'm going to add a little bit of blue um, and yellow instead of the green I was using, just to thicken it a little bit more, hopefully, and deepen it. And then good old red. Got like a clump in there. Okay, let's try that. Now that I have a bunch of layers down, I should be able to kind of work around this stuff here. Okay, so I want to come in and make stuff like this filled in a little bit more from what it was. That's the tricky part right down here is in my original, it was quite dark. I think I used straight black for the base because I didn't want it to be super um, distracting or anything. So I might go deeper here, a little bit darker. That's okay if it's got layers like that light green there. Lighter green is probably perfect for that spot because it makes it look like it's farther away. But down in here, I kind of want to get rid of some of this sagey color. Honestly, I'm going to cover this down here. Distraction, distraction. We don't want that. The focus is this area in here. And so I need to calm this down because I keep looking down here. So we're going to get rid of that. And again, for some reason, it's the hardest part for me down in this area because I'm afraid I'm going to ruin it or overwork it. But then if I leave it, it just is messy and busy. So a little bit of green. Okay, okay. I'm not liking that or that. Gotta calm it down a little bit. This is a little brighter too. I might just kind of really calm that down. This is actually looking okay over here. There's still, I want the red to peek through, but I just don't want like tons of it. So bring in the sides just a little bit more. And this I think is okay. Not sure what to think of this spot. I might need to make this a little bit more solid because the little pieces make it look busy down below. So I'm gonna, and I might bring them off the page a little bit more, or the canvas, and let them sort of be a little grayer, honestly, and less attention to them. Yeah, something like that, where I'm kind of, oops, too late, touching into a repeated color, a color up here that I can kind of hint at a little bit by mixing it with some of these. But that way they're not like as vibrant. I think that's the key here, is keeping these guys blended in a little bit more, almost blended with the green. So it needs to happen just a little bit more down in here. Yeah, I'm liking that better. Again, morphing it kind of slowly as we go. I love when it's blending with the green down in here. That's kind of what I want. So there's that. It's still a little, I think I want to blend these together. So you have a little bit more solid instead of all these little pieces, if that makes sense. There's something about something that's a little more together. Okay, I'm gonna let that be because I don't want to overwork it. Don't want to overwork it. Now, I want to add, well, I probably should have done this before, but we're gonna do it now. We're gonna add, I'm gonna mix kind of the background, that first layer color, that maroon, with just a little bit of green and get more of a brownish color. Still looks similar probably to the green that we have down in here, but I just want to put in some stem-like things on these guys because they look better if that can happen. And then I have a plan because I wanted to incorporate a brighter green, and I think I can do it by just putting little highlights because I don't really want to add another color necessarily to this whole thing, but I want to add the hint of that green that I like a lot, actually, for Christmas too. It's kind of not your traditional green, but it's kind of one of my favorites. So we're gonna put that in there as highlights. Before I do that though, these red flower things, I'm gonna give them a little bit of a shadow side that just adds a little bit of interest, a little bit of depth to these little people. So we're gonna come in here and put that. I might need it a little more red. I don't want it to look too much like the background, otherwise it would have overtaken the flower, but really light, like that. And this just gives it a little bit of value, shows the direction of light. It's really subtle, but it makes all the difference. I can dole down things that are the same red elsewhere so I don't get too much competition with those ones there. Okay, I like that. Now let's just try this green, and then honestly, I'm gonna call it good. So and we are just over an hour. Perfect. This green is interesting because I'm gonna, don't worry, it's not this green, but let me start with this as a base. And then I'm going to add the orange, I think, that orange yellow mixture that I used for these little guys down below. And kind of mix it off to the side here. It's not what I envisioned. We're gonna add this yellow. I think the orange like totally messed it up, but you know, that's okay. Hopefully you guys are having a good Friday, a good lunch hour. Thanks for watching. Okay, this is the green, which you might be like, ooh, really? But this is it for the most part, I think. Can't compare it to what the clear image in my head, but this one. That's the green I'm talking about. It's actually spring green, if you want to think of it that way, which seems odd for something that's kind of Christmassy. I am just going to hint at it. I'm just going to be like, there's a little sparkle there, a little sparkle there. I'm going to actually put a touch of white just because it's, again, transparent, not sticking. Little bit on this side. Touch in here. And you can think of these as like roses if you want. You could think of them as Dr. Seuss flowers if you want. You could think of them as whatever kind of flower they look like to you, but I just like their shape. They work well with most compositions and they're fun to paint in this style and not too difficult. Because they're a simple shape. I'm just hinting at a little bit in here because I'm like, I want a little more, just a little more. Don't go crazy. But that's kind of the green I like with my Christmas stuff, Christmas decorations. Just a little hint of kind of a spring green in there. It actually, for me, was inspired by my trip to the UK in 2017. And I loved, like, because I'm from Colorado, it's dry here. Even in the summer, it looks dry. And so going to the UK, where even if it was March, it was green. This was the green of the grass. And I was so inspired by that. So I had to bring it home and put it in paintings. And I made a whole ottoman covered in this green for my studio, which seems odd, but at the same time, I loved it. So fun. Okay, so I think I'm gonna stop, Mary, stop. So let me do a close up for you of kind of where it's at right now and where we'll leave it for today. and get kind of a idea of my process and see sort of the finished piece. You know, looking at it, there's obviously things I want to tweak a little bit. This background stuff is kind of on the dark side. It's not horrible, but I want to maybe bring the background in around them a little bit or brush over them just slightly to push them back a little bit. And there might be spots in here I might simplify a little bit because it's a little busy in a few areas, just putting in some maroon in here and stuff like that to just kind of unify it. So, but that's kind of the painting there. Super fun. I want to do kind of a little series of a bunch of different ones, kind of in this color range, so that you have an idea how that works and see how they can kind of go together and pair together. So, thank you for watching. Please like and share and subscribe so that you can get more of this. Be notified of live videos and see more of the videos I'll be posting here shortly. So thank you again and have a great rest of your day.